Hello and welcome back to episode number 2 of the Training Loud podcast, the podcast where two D3 runners give their perspective on running and training. I'm Lucas Berg along with Noah Pickard. Noah, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling amazing because we have our first guest today, and he just cooked us a wonderful meal. Today's guest is Jonthomas Bierman. JT most recently is a national qualifier in cross country. This fall he achieved Oneonta's school record in the 8K, running 24:37 at Geneseo, and last spring he was crowned SUNYAC Champion in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. JT holds PRs of 9:03 in the steeplechase, 8:23 in the 3K, and 3:56 in the 1500, and he's only getting faster. JT, we are happy to have a conversation with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. This is so awesome. I'm so glad you guys have me as your first guest. It's an honor, and I'm really excited to get into this.
Yeah, I mean, we are too. Kind of a no-brainer for first guest, if I'm being honest. Just saying. So I think if we're going to hop right into it, we kind of gave you a little bit of a very nice introduction there. But I just want to give you a chance, besides all the stuff Noah just mentioned, how you would want to have a chance to introduce yourself to people who don't really know you as a runner or just as a person.
Nothing really much more than I run collegiate cross country and track and field in D3. I wouldn't so much go say like my personal best unless somebody asks me, of course, but like other than that, just something as simple as that.
Nice. Can you describe your start in the sport and why you love running as much as you do?
Yeah, so I first got into running when I want to say around like 5 or 6 years old. My dad was doing a 5K, local 5K, and he had my little brother in like the sports strollers where you just, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And he had my aunt who was babysitting me at the time for the race. And race goes off, and obviously I wasn't competing. My dad was, of course. And they go off, and my dad told me to stay put. And as soon as I lost sight of him, I couldn't stay put anymore because I was just getting scared, like where was he? So I ran after him. Ended up catching up to him and stayed with him the entire time, and since then I fell in love with the sport.
It's awesome. I know everybody has their own little running story, but that's a good one to hear. You don't really hear that many young ones as much as that. Here's my question. It's kind of a two-parter. When did you kind of realize, when did it hit you, oh man, I'm kind of like this good now, to compete for the wins in like certain races that you're doing? And once you answer that, I'll hit you with my follow-up.
Okay. I want to say probably winter of last winter, just because I kind of had a little mini breakthrough, at least in terms of like the conference, because our conference up until this year is going to be very good. Next year we'll be having SUNY Geneseo and SUNY Brockport leaving and going to the Empire 8. Which is kind of sad because, they're a really great competition aspect. But regarding that indoor season, I had just gotten my first school record for the program, and I was riding that high heading into championship season. And matching up, I was against two very well-known runners in D3. They both eventually became national champions in the DMR in that season.
Oh, dang.
And I was able to stand toe-to-toe with them for 2,900 meters of that indoor 3K and ended up taking a medal, and that was my first SUNYAC medal, when especially I'd felt like at the time I could have gotten a cross-country SUNYAC, all-SUNYAC medal. But then getting that medal for the first time, at least in the conference, it just felt so rewarding. Finally that I felt like I had belonged, and then I really carried that momentum into the spring. So that's kind of when I felt like I was getting really good.
Awesome. So my follow-up, and you don't really have to answer it if you don't want to. There's a shot that you haven't thought about it at all, but when you hit these really fast times, does the thought cross your mind about D1 ever transferring?
Well, earlier in the semester, I did have thoughts about if I was going to potentially graduate on time. I'm not, but if I was going to, then I would go grad transfer D1. So I did definitely think about that. But things didn't align the way I wanted to just because I switched my major a little too late. But I'm very glad that I made that switch. I'm really loving what I'm doing right now. My major is exercise science. I should have put that out there. But so now I'm doing a 5th year in undergrad, and thanks to COVID.
Not thanks to.
Yeah, not thanks to COVID, but because of COVID, I have that year of eligibility where I could still compete. So that's exactly what I'll be doing in this 5th year.
We know you now as national qualifier, boasting you up, but can you name your high school PRs and what was the spark that changed you to become one of the top runners?
Yeah, my high school PRs, my 5K was 17:21, and my mile was 4:53. The mile was the only thing I ran in high school in terms of distance. And I never did spring in high school. I always played baseball up until even senior year of high school. The spark where like I finally realized like I wanted to put a little more effort into the sport came right after the summer heading into senior year, where I was eventually to be named captain for my cross-country team. My high school being Mamaroneck High School. Go Tigers. And going into that fall, I, as many D3 athletes, never really trained over the summer. So heading into that fall, I was just named captain, and then like looking at our roster, we had a really young roster that all, even at the time then, had better PRs than me, and they all had trained over the summer. And like I didn't want to be a captain that wouldn't even be on the top 7. So like that really lit that like spark in me to actually start trying, and like I had never trained like that. Well, I mean, like obviously now like things are different, but at that time I'd never trained that hard. And then at that point I just started really loving running.
To defend ourselves real quick, we did put the summer training. I mean, we put our summer training in.
You didn't, but I'm saying you.
No, in high school. No, I mean like we didn't as much.
Yes.
Like as we like. My issue, I think, always was just the fact that it stayed the same year in, year out. Yes. Like my summer training. Not to say I didn't do it. I know he did it too. But just defending ourselves. Is it my question now?
Yes.
It's to me? Okay. I know we've spoke about this before, but I'm just putting this out there for like the audience to hear it. I just think I know it's a little hard to look this much into the future, but in terms of any running plans post-collegiate, I know, like it said, it's hard to look that far down the line, but anything you would have in mind?
Yeah, so I've definitely given some thought, and like just like you said, like we've talked about it before on regular runs, but I've definitely thought about post-collegiate, getting into either finding a track club or even asking Coach Kelly right now to just give me training plans to eventually hit some more peaks as
Coach
I get
Kelly,
older.
future podcast guest.
Yes. To possibly hit the USA standard for steeple. I've definitely given thought about potentially competing at USAs, and I've definitely given thought about, as I get older, getting into the marathon distance. For sure.
So we were talking about summer training a little bit. I know you've ran 80-mile weeks before. Can you describe your mindset going into an 80-mile week? Because to me, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Probably most people listening to that. And just describe your summer training a little bit.
We're going to get there.
We will get
we'll
there.
Get there.
It might take a while.
I firmly believe you guys will get there. But yeah, for sure. Heading into this summer, especially how it ended on such a bittersweet note, I was definitely ready to put in a little more of a harder training block over the summer. Not that we wanted to overdo, and not that we did overdo anything, but like we had talked about even at the end of spring that like 80 miles was going to be my peak for the summer. And I ended up doing that for 3 straight weeks. One of those I did in 6 days, and I will tell you I was pretty nervous about doing that because the long run was going to be my longest run ever of 17, and I'd never, not that my longest before that was like 16 3/4, but like it's still like 17 and doing it in 6 days, like it was difficult or hard to think of. And doing 80, I had done it before, and in the times that I had done it, I finished that week looking like a zombie. I had felt so tired and like not even that I wasn't getting the sleep or like the food. I just felt dead. But I think as I just trained more and more in like my collegiate years so far, it just became easier and easier. It is difficult, but it's doable.
I'm going to give you a nice little softball easy question because we've been giving you the hard-hitting questions. Just like a simple like preference thing, you're going out for an easy run. Fall, spring, winter, or what I missed, summer? Yeah, just which season are you going out for an easy run in?
Spring.
Elaborate.
Just the weather's getting warmer, the days are getting longer. You can hit that like long sleeve and like half tights kind of run, and it just hits, and like the air is getting a little it's just a little less colder. Like it's kind of, you're almost in that ideal temperature range, and like it's not snowing anymore, it's raining, and like I just find it to be more peaceful, especially as the trees and like flowers are starting to bloom.
So we're just coming out and saying spring equal best running season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that. Are you?
I'd say summer. I'm a summer guy.
Yeah, I'm also a big summer guy as well. Just because the vibes of summer training.
So you say you're on board, but then you...
Well, because he changed my mind immediately. I mean, I'm willing to hear both sides. No, I'll give both arguments. Spring, exactly the reason you just said, the vibes and everything. But summer, like... those springs are all like the practices and stuff, which is very fun as well. But like summer is kind of just the vibe of like you're on your own, and like you can run with whoever. You just text like a friend, like maybe you haven't run with in like years or whatever. I don't know, and you're like, hey, you want to run like 9 miles with me today? It's an unmatched feeling. Getting up at like 6 a.m. to beat the heat or whatever it is. I don't know. I think that both have their merits.
Yeah,
is what I'll say.
Yeah.
So I'm team.
No,
next question.
Summer.
No, next question.
Team like May.
Team May, yeah, I'm Team May. I'm team right after spring season ends, yeah.
This year you were named captain of the cross-country team. How did you handle that responsibility, and then how did you learn to be such a great leader?
Well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, I kind of just handled it like, well, I don't know. That's a good question.
Hard-hitting.
Yeah, hard-hitting. Sorry, I need a moment again. God, I gotta think of that. That's a good question. I gotta stop looking at them. Yeah, you stumped me there for a good minute. You said, how did I handle it? And
yeah, let's see. How did you handle that responsibility, and how do you learn to be such a great leader?
I guess I would say I handled it just from wanting to like push everybody to be the best that they could be. Like we, especially coming off of the summer, me and my co-captain, shout out Christian Noah.
Staten
Island. Me and my co-captain Christian, we wanted not only the best for like each other as captains, and like we wanted to push each other to be good leaders for you guys, but we wanted the team to improve to where we thought it could be, and for the most part, we accomplished those goals and some. So I mean, like us pushing each other, and of course as well as like with the help of the seniors and the coaches, like they helped that ride as well. I would say I wouldn't be a great captain without my teammates. So
That's a great answer. Thank you. All right, my question now is something I actually been really meaning to ask you. I don't know why I haven't. It just escapes my mind sometimes. I asked you, I remember texting you the morning after, maybe something it was, just how was nationals and everything. But I don't think I ever actually got around to asking the question I really wanted to know. Was just like, besides the actual course, and we can touch on that later, some stuff happened to him on the course, but just the experience in itself, staying there for how many nights before did you get there? Like 3 nights, 2 nights?
I stayed there for 2 nights.
Yeah, exactly. So the hotel experience, what like the NCAA gave you, everything like that. Could you go into depth on just that whole experience?
That was like, that almost felt professional. Being like there at a hotel, not only just for like 2 nights, but like it was just me. And I mean, like, I've prepared for races where it's just me, of course, and, like, the track scene, but, like, this was totally different in terms of cross because you're usually expecting like there to be like 6 to however many guys on your team next to around you where you're warming up all together, and like us or me like warming up by myself in a cross race where I would look to my left and my right and I'd see not only just like other teams but like their cheer teams there for them. Like it was just a totally different experience, and I am so grateful that I got to experience that. It was an amazing experience, like I just said. I will never ever forget that. What I got from the NCAA, I got a really cool sound bar. I got a water bottle. I got a nice little participation medallion that's, I believe, right behind you. Oh. It should be. Maybe it's behind the VR. It might be.
Oh.
Yep.
I almost broke it.
Nice little medallion. A few other smaller things that I can't think of off the top of my head, but the main thing was the sound bar. A pair of headphones. So some pretty cool things.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us like K by K or just like not K by K, but like
maybe 400 meter by 400 meter.
400 meters. That's just the highlight of the race.
Yeah. In the race, I around 500 or no, not even around like 20 seconds in, I got spiked, and across the entire field, there was a little divot. So gun goes off. Everybody's sprinting for positions, and we get to the divot, and the kid that was in the starting line, literally quite next to me, was maybe 2 feet, maybe 3 feet in front of me, and we get to the divot. He trips and falls, starts somersaulting. I had to jump him like I was steepling, and in the process of it, his back was landed up as I hurtled over him. Excuse me, and his spikes spiked me right on my inner knee. So I was dealing with just bleeding down my legs the entire time. And then, I want to say after about a mile, I blacked out. It was a very difficult course. It was the most difficult course I've ever run on. But it was also, again, a wild experience. And I don't remember anything after mile 1 because of how much pain I was in. But just, I remember being out there just like fighting for my life. Started really fighting for it after a K. And from there, it was just war is what it felt like, really.
Yeah. So obviously it was just you there, like you touched on. Well, you had Megan and Ella there as well, but just on the guys' side, it was you. Can you talk about? This is something I've definitely brought up a lot, but just the plans in terms of future goals for next year. What the plans are, maybe for you individually, for an individual finish, and then more on a broad team scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. One, I'm really excited to be returning back to this 5th year because everybody that we had on the starting line at regionals will be returning for when we get back here next year, next summer, next fall, and I really can't wait for that. Secondly, individually, first, certainly better than what I just did at nationals. It was definitely towards the bottom of the pack, so I definitely have some like bigger individual goals. And then as a team, I really think that these guys, as long as we keep doing what we're doing right now, that potential is really, really bright. I firmly believe that we could be something very special for the next year, and not only the next year, but like next 2, 3, 4 years when I'm gone and when you two start leading this team.
As a team, we talk a lot about how this year is different. Can you talk about the team culture in the past and then how it shifted this year?
Yeah, absolutely. This team has been through a lot since COVID. Our entire campus got shut down in the fall of 2020. We had our old cross-country coach leave. We had a new hiring for the fall of 2021. And the cultures have changed just in the way, I would say, of like, I guess you could say the overall team effort that was being put in. The classes that were above me, there was, first of all, a few of them had quit, which was pretty unfortunate because I like to believe that during last year, if we had some of the people that had stayed and never quit, of course never quit, had stayed, we really could have been just as special as what I believe we could be next year. Just because we would have had 2 seniors who had already been to nationals in 2019 as a team, and then we had 2 people that transferred, and I believe that with those 4, along with me and Jack and no, not Gabe, Owen from last year, that would have been a really, really solid top 7.
Yeah.
But then, yeah. So the culture. I got off topic. Sorry. The culture.
Okay.
So yeah. The classes above me were really small, and my class itself is, I want to say, around like 13, 14 kids.
Just on the guy side.
Just on the guy side, 13, 14 kids. So I feel like us having that bigger class, and not only having it, but like leading it this year, and us all wanting a main team goal when we got here, is what changed it so much. And not only that, but the freshman class that we've had that we brought in, they really, I want to say, they stepped us into higher gear than the seniors did, in my opinion, which is wild to say. I know it's wild to say, but they really...
Lucas just gave himself a pat on the back.
I give all of us a pat on the back.
No, and he absolutely should be. And I've said it before. I've said it to the coaches, and I'll even say it again on here, that they, I think, are one of the main, if not the main reason that the culture has changed so much, because they want to improve every single day, and they want to be the best versions of themselves. And that is what I think is so great about this class in general.
High five again.
Boom.
Is it me or you?
You
It's all me.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the training log. You know, we talk about training. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty details right now. I think this was in a Kelly Vincent Instagram story in the summer. But favorite workout you've ever done? You got really nervous there for a second. I just remember her posting something about this.
I gotta think.
Favorite workout you've ever done?
Ever done?
And then, well, if that already got you scared, maybe I won't say my second half of the question.
You'll have to at some point.
I will. I'll get. Once you think of it, then I'll say the second half of the question.
Favorite workout. Okay. It happened this past spring when I was doing some steeple stuff. It was 1K at 5K, 800 at steeple, and this was one of my most important workouts before I went to Bucknell, which was a huge breakthrough for me in steeple. So yeah, 800 at steeple, 800 at 3K, I believe it was 3K. It was either 3K or 5K again, and then 8x400, alternating between steeple and then mile. So like getting that interchanging of speed and like steeple speed, especially turning over the legs. I felt really, really strong during that workout.
I think so. The follow up to it was if you could get, as specific as possible on everything, but splits, rest, everything, in terms of that.
If it was rest, I'd have to look at it on
Strava. Yeah.
But I do remember the splits being, I want to say somewhere like 3 flat for the K, 225 for the steeple 800. I said it was at 3K for the, so it was like 215 for the 3K rep 800, and then I was changing between 74, 75, and like 61, 63.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Those are fast.
Yeah. Rest was probably around, I want to say 90 seconds, 2 minutes for everything, maybe. I could be wrong, but that's off the top of my head.
Gotcha. Love it.
In our last podcast, we talked about balancing social life, school, and running. Having more experience than us, how have you balanced it? And then also, how has it evolved from freshman year?
I want to say still finding that balance has been my biggest struggle as a collegiate student, as a student athlete.
Dang it, we just talked up how like we figured it out already as freshmen on the last one. That's crazy.
You don't say that until you enter.
Yeah, we haven't actually. We haven't.
I will say though, last spring was when I felt the most like in tune with everything, but I also think it was when I had a little bit of easier classes. Yeah, no, it's been really hard to find a balance. Even now, it's still hard. Some days I don't get enough sleep. Some days I just don't feel motivated to do my work. Some days I say I'm going to do things and I don't do them. And like it is very hard to find a balance. And I think that anybody that says that they have found balance, I need to learn from what you're doing because I still haven't found it. Yeah, I think that's what I had to say there.
I don't think we found it. I was just saying that we've at least not been drowning like we were in like the first 2 weeks of school.
The first 2 weeks was really tough to just like
I remember you guys talking about that.
Adjust to all of that, but now,
we're just in a much better spot.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all me now? All right, so I don't remember the question. Okay, I'm going to get another interesting training one off my chest because, I get kind of specific with it. But in a recent Jakob Ingebrigtsen interview, he said this on multiple occasions. And I think the most recent one after, maybe he ran 3:43, or I think that was his most recent race, is where he said... everybody, and I know everybody, he's talking about in terms of professional runners, but as you near the at least time level, speed level of something bordering on that, he's saying everybody should be doing double thresholds, or I'm just wondering if you've ever thought about starting to do that, if you have ever done that, and if that's something you want to ask Coach about doing at any point.
Well, I'm doing my first one on the 19th.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. So look at that.
I'm doing quite a few in this winter training block. Okay. I know that for sure. But we're kind of hopping into it, and at that point, I think I'm a little nervous just because next week is my first week of workouts heading into this build for the winter and spring season, and then the week after that is double threshold, and that of course comes on the same day of my last final of the semester. But
it's a long day.
Yeah, it is what it is. Stuff happens. But yeah, we had talked about double thresholds I talked to Coach about it over the summer to do it for possibly the winter and spring build up and like block, and that is the case. So I'm really excited to start doing them now.
And you mind if I follow up on that real quick? Just because I know there are a lot of people, there's no one watching this right now, but for the people that do end up watching it, it's like some people are just doing it to be nice to me and him out of just like being nice. Do you want to, explain what it is, double threshold, and two, to kind of not just bore people who do know what it is, explain how you think it would be optimally done in terms of how it's done?
Yeah, so double threshold is a 2 workout day in a day. It's 2 workouts in a day. And what?
Nothing.
And not only that, but like the workouts themselves, they are very specifically not race pace. I know that I'm doing them, I think both either at tempo or at lactate, and they're both normally intervals. However, I've seen double threshold workouts where they've done maybe like 10K at tempo in the morning, and then they usually say at least 6 hours in between. And then you do your second workout, and then that would be like 400 to 1K reps at tempo or lactate. And usually, and in an ideal world for us, we would have lactate testers, which would prick your finger or even your ear, and you would quite literally test your lactate. We, unfortunately, do not have the money for that. However, I know a lot of D1 schools, or at least the big name D1 schools, and
NAU, Stanford,
and and the professional teams like On, or I'm sure Bowerman as well, like they probably have that. They have, fortunately, the money to be able to spend on stuff like that. So with that being said, like, because we don't have those funds, you have to make sure that you're really staying within your pace ranges, because if you're not, you're gonna be overtraining and just increase your risk of injury, or some other things, some sickness or whatever. Yeah.
Cool.
For this indoor season, what does a successful season look like?
My goals are to make either an indoor national qualifier in either the mile or the 3K, or possibly even the DMR. I'm really excited for our DMR. We have some redemption that we want to gain because of what happened in indoor SUNYACs. Do you two know about that?
I do. I don't think you do.
Do you know about it?
No.
All right. Well,
story time.
Yeah, story time. So we had it was indoor SUNYACs, and it's always at Brockport every year. Well, this will be the last year, of course. But DMR, Owen, shout out Owen. He freshman at the time. He was our 1200 leg. Race goes off, and our 400 leg, shout out Alec Weiss. He will get his medal this year. He will get his SUNYAC medal. I know he will. And then our 800 guy was Luke Jarsky, and then I was the mile leg. So gun goes off. They're fighting for spots. Long story short, we're around they're about to start the 4th lap. And they're about to start the 5th lap. So they're heading into 1K. And the head official, as they're at the 100 mark for 900 meters, the head official is at the line, and he gets to the 400 guys, and he goes, 400 guys, get ready. And then the 400 guys are yelling back at him. They're like, no, they're not ready yet. They're on their 5th lap. It's not time yet. Head official goes, get on the line. Then everybody else rushes to the line, hands it off 1 lap early. Maybe 6 or 5 of the 8 teams had a miss handoff, and 3 of the other teams had the correct handoff at 1200. And I mean, good thing for us, because Owen was dying at the end of that at the end of the 1K mark, and all the other coaches are going berserk. They're like, what the? Can I curse?
I guess not.
Okay.
I guess not.
They're going, what the hell is going on here? He miscounted laps. Like, what is going on here? And anyway, nobody knows what to do, so they tell him to keep racing. So 400 guys, they race. 800 guys, they race. And then it comes down to, at this point, Jarsky and Geneseo's 800 guy. They handed off at the same time to me and Geneseo's mile guy. So we're racing. I'm leading it, and the Jenny kid is just behind me. We're about to head into the 8th lap of our final lap, or at least what we thought was our final lap. And I start to make a move, and we get to 50 meters to go. And meanwhile, all the coaches very quickly discussed, and they were like, should we have them do an extra lap just so that they have the official distance of the DMR? Should we have them do it? And all the coaches that had their student athletes miscounted their laps wrong, they made them do a 9th lap in the mile. So we're around 50 meters to go, and I'm about to finish, and I see Coach Chris out of the corner of my eye, and he's sprinting and screaming at me, you have 1 more lap left, you have 1 more lap left. I hold up. This Jenny kid comes from behind. He starts to go ahead of me because he didn't hear, and everybody is just screaming bloody hell. And we get to the line. The Geneseo distance coach is on the other side of the line screaming at his kid, you have 1 more lap. Meanwhile, this kid is leaning on the line. He fell over, leaning over the line. He won the race, and then I did a last lap of pure lactic. That was one of the most painful laps I've ever run in my life, because we had just nearly sprinted the entire last 200 meters, and we ended up winning the race. I believe Geneseo ended up coming in 2nd, and then Brockport, I believe, took 3rd. But long story short, they ended up DQing everybody because the head official messed up. And we got that medal taken away from us. It's very unfortunate, but hopefully we'll be back for this winter. Yeah, it was crazy.
So, for a national qualifier time, what do you think the time in a mile and 3K are going to be?
For the mile, it's probably going to be around like 4:08, 4:07. And for the 3K, probably 8:09 to 8:10. That's what I think it'll be.
So we're talking about D3 Nationals right now. Just as a whole, do you think you can touch on why you think you can give good and bad, but what do you love so much about the D3 experience, and then maybe what do you not love so much about the D3 experience?
What I love so much about the D3 experience is just, I guess, how inclusive everything was, at least for our program, because I was a walk-on. I didn't get recruited, and as soon as I got accepted into SUNY Oneonta, I immediately emailed Coach Chris, who's our head coach, and sent him my PRs, and like he was very welcoming, and just getting that immediate feeling of like, yeah, you can compete and like you belong here. Like it made me want to work harder to achieve, well, I guess goals that I never even thought were possible. I guess the only thing I don't like about D3 at the moment now, especially how things are getting so close between D3, D2, and D1, is the fact that at the moment you still can't get any athletic scholarships, that it's only academic. And I hope that eventually one day that will change. Although right now I don't know if that is in the works to change, but I would like to see that if there was anything to change from D3.
Nice. So kind of a loaded question and kind of might take some thought.
Yeah, it's fine.
Where do you find your motivation and like what's that inner why that you have for running?
That is a good question. I find my motivation honestly in my teammates, just because I know that like in my teammates and in my team, in my teammates because I know that they are also like they're working just as hard and they're dealing with their own things in life and they're still devoting so much of their time to commit to being on this team that it's like I really want to, devote my time to trying to be the best that I can be. And then, what's my why? I mean, my why is, I got to think a little more.
For me, my why in running is just to prove to myself, like, the consistency of it. That you can just stack workouts, stack days, and then prove to myself that you can be consistent at it, and then looking at it as a whole and being like in awe of like what you just did, and then just proving yourself, right, that you did that. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I could say mine as well. If you
I do want to hear your why.
Okay, it's similar to Noah's. Okay. I think it was, I just, when I was really young, I got like two main like moral values, if whatever you want, values I guess you could call, from my parents and my dad specifically. One of them doesn't apply, so I won't say it. The other one is never be outworked. And that just was instilled to me from the time, just as early as I can remember. And so, I was just like, as a massive baseball player, my whole thing is I didn't want to be outworked. I wanted to work harder because I wasn't the most athletically talented, naturally, person. And so I always wanted to just prove to myself and others, but more or less to myself, that I could be as good as everyone else and I could achieve everything I wanted to athletically because I really wanted to, because I just loved everything so much, if I just worked hard enough. And so when I got into running, I think I didn't really have a clear picture of idea what times I wanted to hit or what I wanted to do. I just knew that if I went on a run, I wouldn't stop. And I knew that when I finished a race, it would be everything I had. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could not be outworked by anybody else, because that would just make me feel awful inside, because that was just who I was and who I still am as a person. So now that I actually know what I want to hit, I mean, I'll say it probably many times on this podcast as we go on, my lifetime goal is I want to break 4 minutes in the mile. I know I run a 4:39, 4:41 actually technically right now, and that's going to break as we get into winter. But lifetime goal, I want to break 4 in the mile. It's crazy, it's outrageous, whatever. I just think with enough work, I can do it. And that's kind of not to break 4 is my why, but just to show myself that if I'm never outworked, if I work as hard as I possibly can, I can achieve whatever I want. So,
yeah,
there's my thing.
Geez, I don't know if I have an answer that beats that. But I would say that, I mean, like, at the minimum, my why is just, like, proving to myself what, like, high school me, I guess, not that I want to say couldn't do, but, like, proving to myself that, like, with devoting 100% of me, showing what I could do with 100% of me.
Awesome. Oh, me? So this is actually going to piggyback right off of what I said.
Okay.
So I guess you're not off the hook.
Okay.
But it's not on the topic of why. I'm gonna shout out like he cares. I'm gonna talk about someone like Ethan Gregg, D3 national champion in cross country, who was a little faster, but wasn't a star recruit standout out of high school. You know, PBs of 440, 441 in the mile, 945 in the 2 mile. Just a little faster than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did is, you know, I think a lot of us listened to his podcasts where he just said, I just worked harder, my training got better, and look where I am now, which is a very similar thing that happened to you. My question for you is, do you think that could apply to everyone? Do you think it's just if you work harder, if you do the right things, you will get as insanely fast as everyone else? Or is it just something about the person themselves? It's a hard-hitting one.
It is. I think this is a good question, because I've seen people that have, like, worked as hard as me and, like, worked even harder than me, and they still not get the results that they were searching for. But I do think in the end of the day, like, not that those results won't ever come, but I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to being disciplined. Like, because something needs to be made clear. The mileage is not everything. The mileage is only a part of it. Doing those little things, the general strength, the mobility, the foam rolling, the sleep, the nutrition, the lifting, and, like, even finding that balance is just very important. I think it's even more important than the mileage, and I will always stand by that, like, doing those other things is more important than simply just the mileage, because at the end of the day, like, being able to absorb the training, not just do the training, is what makes you a better runner. So if you're staying disciplined like that we train for 49 we take 3 weeks off throughout the entire calendar year. And there's not many people that train like that. And, like, to say that we do that and to stay as disciplined as we need to be if we want to achieve those goals, it's not an easy task. And I think that although, like I said, the mileage is a big piece, but it's not everything. And staying disciplined, I believe, is more important.
Cross-country season just ended, but I'm already excited. For the next one, what's your vision for the team next year? Like, call your shots. What are we going to do next year?
We are going to be... we're going to be top 3 in the region, maybe even top 2 if we play our cards right. And we're going to be a nationally qualifying team. We're going to win the SUNYAC. And yes, the conference alignment has changed, but I mean, we don't take any team that we're competing against with any sort of disrespect, but we're coming for blood from what we didn't accomplish in the SUNYAC this year, and we're going to win the SUNYAC next year. And not only that, but we're going to be a nationally qualifying team.
I love to hear that.
That sounds great.
I think this is my last little hard-hitting question, then we can do, like, the outro stuff. But and probably my most general question, maybe most hard-hitting. I don't know. Unfortunately, the running community, just as a whole, you know, everything included, is still a pretty really niche culture. As you know, names like Jakob, like I mentioned earlier, or Yard Nagu still kind of mean nothing to the general public if you just say to a random person. What do you think could be done to help grow the popularity of our sport, or are you just kind of content with it just being like our own little community, do you think?
I mean, I think what Citius Mag does, and I think what Traxta do, I think those two in particular do a great job of like really trying to get track and field and cross country to be popular.
I guess another thing I'll add too is, do you think it has the potential to be any more popular than it is?
I do think it has the potential because, I mean, simply put, anybody can go out for a run.
Yeah.
And, like, we have apps like Strava that now just added direct messaging. So, like, if you really want to find somebody and, like, ask them if they want to meet up, especially if they're close to you, like, it is as simple as that. And, like, having an app like Strava and, like, seeing what, like, Citius Mag does and what Traxta do to, like, try everything they can to promote the sport, it really is nice to see. I don't think it will be until a long time, but I mean, year by year, I'm pretty sure year by year, world athletics and like the world championships grows every year in terms of like how many people are watching it worldwide.
Yeah,
pretty sure, at least.
I think so.
And I think it helps that now people are just getting faster and faster and faster, and everyone just
people want to
watch
see
people.
records break.
Yeah,
they want to see that.
I think my take on it is like, no one really knows who Matt Centrowitz is, despite the fact, and I'm just saying, like, no one really, like, again, everybody knows who Usain Bolt is. That's like the only one. But Matt Centrowitz won an American gold medal at the Olympics, and everybody cares about the Olympics, but nobody really knows about him. And my personal opinion is it's the only way to get a household distance name, maybe more than Eliud Kipchoge, who's probably the biggest one right now, would be breaking the mile world record. Because you saw Cheptegei break the 5K world record. Who really cares? Yeah, we do, but like the mile, that means a lot to people.
Even a marathon record.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows?
Cares.
Kelvin kicked him. I think it's gonna have to be Yard or Jakob to take down 3:43 finally, and that's really gonna do a lot. But do you have anything else?
I'm all good.
I'm just going to say last couple closing thoughts. Thank you so much for being here at your own house and doing this. Cooking us food.
Made us dessert.
For doing this with us. I guess last thing I'll end on and say is that we've been hitting you with the hard-hitting questions. You don't have to, but is there anything you have for us? And ask us, tell us anything at the end.
No, I mean, like, you guys, this was great. I had a blast doing it. Thank you guys so much for having me out here, whether it was in my own home or not. But this means a lot coming from you guys.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up episode 2. Definitely stay tuned for episode 3. It's going to have a really fun time with the guests on it. We want to say thank you to JT for being here. And, yeah, that's it. So we'll see you.